Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast. We cover everything Major League, from spring training to the World Series. We've got your favorite club covered, from New York to Boston to LA. This is the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast.
Welcome back to the GSMC Baseball Podcast here on the GSMC Podcast Network. We are inching closer and closer. Yes, it's getting to the end of the regular season. It's going to be here before we know it. And we have a lot of news that has to do with, well, after the regular season, the postseason. We got a lot of talk that we need to be doing about that. And there is so much to talk here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. I'm your host, Collin Manley. We're recording this as of September 15th. Going to be your Wednesday episode on the 16th. Hopefully getting this information to you early Wednesday morning or Wednesday afternoon, whenever it gets to you. We have to talk about news and noise, get you up to date on everybody around the league, that's for sure. We need to talk about potential postseason matchups that could be happening at the end of this season. We also have to take a look around the league. Where is everyone standing in the standings? We're going to talk about some teams, league leaders as well, individual awards, where everyone's sitting statistically. And of course, we have to talk about, well, some very important series that are coming up. This season has been fun in the sense that every game seems to matter down the stretch for a lot of these teams. And there's a lot of matchups between teams that are fighting for the same playoff spots. So that's been exciting, something to be watching. But we have to start off with our news and noise around the league, and staying with that postseason. Well, the Players Association has approved our bubble format for most of the postseason games for the 2020 season. So what that means is all of the wild card series, so 1 through 8 in the National League and American League, those are going to be hosted by the team with the better record or the higher seed in the National League and American League. So that'll be at the home stadium of the better, higher-ranked team. Shouldn't say better. Should be careful with that. Higher-ranked team for the 3-game series. Then it's going to go off to some bubble format decided locations. The NLDS, you're either going to be playing in Arlington, Texas, in the Rangers' new stadium, or Houston, Texas, in the Astros stadium. The ALDS is going to be in San Diego at Petco Park, or LA, Dodger Stadium. After that, when we go to the NLCS and ALCS, the National League Championship Series is going to be in Arlington at the Rangers' new stadium. The American League Championship Series is going to be at Petco Park, San Diego. And then the World Series is to be hosted at Arlington at the Rangers' brand new stadium. Finally committing to this bubble format. Now, there's a lot of information out there about this. Kind of the big thing is just bubble has been approved upon. There might be more information, some more wording to come out for sure in coming days, because we do have a little bit of time until the postseason actually hits, because there's even talks about some family being allowed to come into the bubble with them. That's going to be made. We just have a lot more that needs to become. So the major format of playoff dates, where these games are going to be played, that's what we know for sure. More information is to come, and we will be getting you up to date with as much as we know when it starts rolling through. But the playoffs, as of right now, Wild Card Series set to start Tuesday, September 29th for the American League. National League set to start Wednesday, September 30th. Going to carry on until we have a World Series starting October 20th. And depending on how many games are needed, the latest being done Wednesday, October 28th. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be tight. Not a lot of wiggle room when it comes to setting a lot of this stuff up. But I'm sure the MLB knows about this, and that's why they want to go into this bubble format. When you are locking in so many days, and you know that you really can't afford to lose much, this format is just the way to go. there's definitely a lot of question when it comes to, well, if a player, someone on the roster, something tests positive, what are we going to do? So they had to make sure, all right, we're going to try to get a format that works best. We've seen what the NBA is doing. We've seen what the NHL is doing. We're going to try our best to come together with something that we think will help just get rid of all issues. So that's why they're going to be moving forward with this format. And I applaud the MLB. I think it's a great idea. Something for sure that they should be doing. At least we'll see if it works. Hopefully, fingers crossed, hoping for the best. Moving on to some game news. Giants and Mariners. Games have been postponed due to some Seattle air quality. If you didn't think 2020 was a weird enough year, it's going to keep going. So postponed due to air quality issues in Seattle. The games will now be played at the Giants Oracle Park in San Francisco on Wednesday and Thursday. The Mariners are still considered to be the home team for these games. Per airnow.gov, the air quality in Seattle as of 4 p.m. Eastern Tuesday was 241, which is deemed very unhealthy. The air quality in San Francisco was 68, which is deemed moderate. I'm someone who doesn't know about this as much as a lot of other people, but if you were actually getting to see some of these games that were played in these questionable air quality conditions before, you can kind of notice that there's definitely some things going on. Mariners president and COO Kevin Mather said in a statement that the air quality in Seattle has gotten worse overnight here at T-Mobile Park, and it is not clearing at all today. Mather said, however, that the Mariners look forward to returning to Seattle on Friday for their weekend series against the San Diego Padres, but we'll see if things continue to stay that way. The question going forward is how the West Coast fires will affect MLB down the stretch, because, I mean, there's American League Division Series, Championship Series. It's all going to be held in California. So while nothing is confirmed, like we talked about the MLB playoff, like things can change for sure. It is sounding like Phoenix will be the backup area just in case if it's needed with all this air quality problem. So something that we're going to have to keep an eye on for sure moving forward. Some transaction news. Pablo Sandoval, the Giants star. We could say Giants star because when he's in San Francisco, this guy is loved. Well, he's moving on. He has just agreed to a deal with the Atlanta Braves and is reported to their alternate trading site in Georgia. 34-year-old was released by the Giants last week in his second stint with the team. He was hitting .220 with 1 home run and 6 RBIs this season. This is the 4th organization he has played for in his 13-year career. Great stint right away with San Francisco. We know about his little issues, would say, with the Boston Red Sox. He's been around a little bit. So we'll see if he ends up giving anything to the Braves this season since it's late in the year. Hard to say if we really expect too much, but there is potential for sure in seeing him maybe getting used once, maybe later down towards the postseason. We'll see. You never know with injuries in this season. 2020 has been a weird one, so fingers crossed you don't need him, but you never know. Moving on to some injury news. The Yankees got a lot going on. The Yankees reinstated Giancarlo Stanton, Gio Urshela, and Jonathan Lozinga from the IL Tuesday afternoon in time for the start of a big-time series with the Blue Jays. Both were in the lineup for the first game of the series with Stanton out since August 9th with a left hamstring strain. Batting cleanup as the DH, and Urshela out since September 4th with a bone spur in his right elbow, hitting right behind him, playing third base. Gleyber Torres is out of the lineup Tuesday while dealing with a little bit of a quad problem. If they were starting the playoffs today, he'd be playing, is the quote from Aaron Boone. Still, it's worth watching. Torres had a recent stint on the IL due to some issues with his hamstring and quadriceps strain, so they're going to be taking that one slowly. They are also hoping to have a return from Aaron Judge soon, maybe even as soon as the end of this week, according to Aaron Boone as well. Good chance he could return by the Red Sox series, which starts Friday. Be a good place to ease him back in, going up against a lesser opponent. Let's be honest, a lesser opponent so far this year. As much as I want to root for my Red Sox and say the best about them, they've just been a down year for sure. For the Colorado Rockies, Nolan Arenado, he is ahead of Monday's day off. He didn't start Sunday's finale against the Angels in hopes that some extra rest was going to help him. He had a flare-up in the soreness in the AC joint in his left shoulder. 29-year-old returned to the lineup Tuesday as the cleanup hitter against the A's as the Rockies hey, they're still in the postseason hunt. They are not out of it yet. They're trying to hope and pray that they make it in. And a big series coming up against Oakland. Hopeful that he can help them get back to playing some postseason baseball. For the Philadelphia Phillies, the Phillies provided updates on 3 players: JT Realmuto, Rhys Hoskins, and Zach Wheeler. Realmuto and Hoskins each had MRI exams while Wheeler threw a bullpen session. Realmuto, who was injured his hip running to first base in a game Saturday, missed Monday's game versus Miami, expected to be out until later in the week at the least right now. Some worse news, though, for Hoskins, who went on the IL Tuesday with a left ulnar collateral ligament injury. This happened when he had a collision at first base. His return in time for the end of the regular season could be in doubt, which is huge, as the Phillies are definitely a team that are on the hunt as well for the postseason. Zach Wheeler, who tore a nail on his right middle finger. I still can't get over that one. That just sounds awful to me. In a freak incident when he was getting dressed last week, could be ready to face the Mets this week. He was set to play catch again Tuesday to determine his status going forward. For the Houston Astros, out since late July with a right forearm strain, Justin Verlander threw 55 to 60 pitches off the mound Saturday and will progress to facing live hitters soon. A very big step forward, Dusty Baker said of Verlander, who has been working towards that potential return in the final week of the regular season. He was quoted saying he's working his butt off. He's trying everything he can to get back to help us, end quote. And any pitching help the Astros can get will be appreciated. They've been up and down with trying to keep pitchers healthy so far this season. Also going with the Astros after missing 11 games with a right knee sprain, Jose Altuve was activated Tuesday in Houston's lineup, playing second base and batting second as well, as the Astros open a 3-game series against the Rangers. Lance McCullers, who was placed on the IL September 6th with a neck nerve irritation, is scheduled to start Wednesday against Texas after having an anti-inflammatory injection to help with any issues with his neck. For the Oakland A's, the A's announced on Saturday that Matt Chapman will undergo surgery on his right hip, which will likely end his season. Dr. Mark Philippon, he's going to perform the operation in Colorado on Monday. Disappointed, obviously, with how good Oakland has been. You would really have liked to see them go in full strength. They're one of the favorites in this thing. They have been holding off in the AL West, being one of the best records in baseball all season. So you really hate them see one of their best players go out. But they're hoping he'll come back healthy, 100%, be good for next year. The long-term plan. Got to look long-term with some of these guys, that's for sure. After Oakland split their doubleheader with Texas, Bob Melvin also announced that Chad Pinder had strained his right hamstring while going after a ball in Game 1. Pinder was placed on the IL on Sunday. For the Cincinnati Reds, one of their stud pitchers so far this season, Sonny Gray, has been placed on the IL with a right mid-back strain. The team announced on Sunday. The righty had a 1.94 ERA over his first 7 outings this season, but he allowed 11 runs over 4 innings in his past 2 starts. Definitely not looking like his dominant self. This hurts for the Reds. They are also another team that's in that playoff hunt, and one of the things that's been holding them up so strong is the play of Sonny Gray and Trevor Bauer for this team. So losing one of those pitchers is going to be definitely frustrating for them, but they'll see if things can keep chugging along towards a postseason berth. For the LA Dodgers, will they activate Justin Turner? Third baseman came off IL on Tuesday morning, expected to start him at DH, their afternoon game against the San Diego Padres, which they need any help back. The Padres are hot and coming after the Dodgers for the top seed in the National League. Part of an effort to ease him back in the lineup. He had been taking some BP. We'd been talking about that before, so putting him in that DH position, try to help ease him back in, is the move right now for the LA Dodgers. Also, Dustin May, he did not suffer a fractured left foot when struck by a line drive on Thursday in Arizona. Manager Dave Roberts had said the plan is for May to be ready to start Wednesday's game. Dave Roberts had said there's no fracture. Right now it seems like just like a contusion. It's sort of day-to-day thing at the moment. For the Tampa Bay Rays, barring a pretty intense, miraculous recovery. Rays are most likely to finish the rest of the regular season without the help of Ji-Man Choi. Left Saturday at a 5-4 win over the Red Sox with a left hamstring strain and officially went on the IL on Tuesday. An MRI on Sunday revealed that Choi has a grade 1 strain on his hamstring. Kevin Cash said, manager of the Rays, most likely require a 2 to 3 week recovery period. So looking like he's not going to be there. See if the Rays can hold things off. For the Detroit Tigers, Jonathan Scoop has placed on the 10-day IL Tuesday with a right wrist sprain that is aggravated by a swing that he made on Saturday. He did not play Sunday, and the Tigers have an off day on Monday. Going to miss a few days no matter what was going to happen. Going to miss a little bit more time as expected. We'll see when he can return to the lineup. Elvis Andrus for the Texas Rangers was placed on the 10-day IL Saturday with a lower back strain. Second time on the IL for back problems this season. He had been on the IL from August 20th to August 30th. And we're thinking this most likely is going to end the season for Andrus. The Rangers looking like they're going to be on the outside anyways. There's playoff hopes seem to be pretty much dashed. So we might not be seeing much of Elvis Andrus the rest of the year. For the Milwaukee Brewers, one game into a stretch of 8 games in 5 days, the Brewers scratched Brett Anderson from his scheduled start against the Cubs on Saturday with a tight right hip and prepared for a bullpen game led off by left-hander Brent Suter. Anderson's issue presented itself for the first time on Saturday, not considered too serious. At least that's the word from manager Craig Counsell. And lastly, Isan Diaz from the Miami Marlins was placed on the 6-day IL Tuesday, ending what already has been a very tough season for the second baseman. He elected not to play due to COVID concerns, and then after participating in 2 of Miami's 3 games of 2020, changed his mind, came back, was approved for reinstatement, but appeared in just 5 more games this month before injuring his left groin. Would have been a nice bump to the Marlins team, but they're going to keep chugging along without him. So that's going to be it for news and noise around the league, getting you caught up on all 30 teams. A lot of information, that's for sure, going on. When we come back from a quick commercial break, we're going to be talking about where we're standing around the league. Who is atop divisions? Who is fighting for the playoff spots? And also, we're going to look at some individual statistics because we got to give some shout-outs to some guys and what they're doing so far this season coming up here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.
This is your ultimate stop for everything sports. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Should I say more? From the NFL, MLB, the NBA to MMA, it's all in here. The Golden State Media Concepts Sports Podcast. Listen now.
Well, we got to be talking about these teams, where everyone's standing. There is so much information that we need to be going over when it comes to baseball. We just got news and noise in, talking about injuries and some other news, some transaction news, the playoff schedule that was just announced. But we need to then look at, well, where is these teams standing? Where is everyone at right now as we are going into the final stretch? Starting things off with that American League. Well, the Tampa Bay Rays, they are holding on to that top spot in the AL East, sitting at 30-17 so far on the year. They have been a pretty steady team ever since they overtook the Yankees earlier in the season for the top spot in the American League East. 5-5 in their last 10. Playoff predictions, it's looking good for them. About 100% chance that they are going to be making the playoffs. This is big information for them. 235 runs scored this year. 195 given up, plus 40. Just a steady team. They're not a team that's going to be like blow your socks off exciting. I get that. They have some great players. They play baseball so well, but I just continue to feel like they go under the radar. And how a team can be so great for so long and continue to go, I don't understand it. But the Tampa Bay Rays are just They feel like the most underappreciated team every single year, every single year. And right behind them, we have the Toronto Blue Jays. Still one of the surprises in baseball as they hold on to that second spot in the American League East. 26-20 on the year, 3.5 games back at Tampa Bay, 6-4 in their last 10. They've won their last 2 games. This offense is potent. They can score runs. We know that. It's all about the pitching behind them. How are they going to do keeping runs off the board to help themselves out? Because as of right now, they are currently a half game up on the Yankees. 26-21, so just one more loss in the loss column for the Yankees. 223 runs as well, 193 runs allowed. The big thing for the Yankees is they've won 5 in a row, and they've kept themselves right on the coattails of the Blue Jays. Now, both these teams are very much considered to make the playoffs. The Blue Jays, 98.1%. The Yankees, 99.5%. So just a little bit more of love towards the Yankees. Some thought that they're going to maybe overtake Toronto as they have a big series coming up. That's what we're looking at right now. Now, the Baltimore Orioles are standing behind 9 games back. They're not completely out of this thing, although it doesn't look good for them for sure. 21-26, they are 5 games back of the Yankees as of right now. They have considered a 1% chance of making the postseason. Yeah, I said it right. 1% chance. So you're saying there's a chance. Yep, they're just holding on to one. And then the Boston Red Sox, 17-31. They're not the worst team in baseball right now. We look at it as the positive. Still, this team can score runs, 224 runs. Problem is, they're going to be the first team this year to give up 300 runs this year, and they're holding on to that lead by a long shot. That's just kind of sad to me, really is. Looking at the American League Central, what was our tightest race for the longest time, well, we have one team that's pulling away a little bit. The Chicago White Sox are currently atop the division, 31-16. They have won 5 in a row, 9 of their last 10. They look to be a lock in the playoffs, considered a 100% chance right now. They have been just good. We knew they were going to be fun. We knew this. We didn't think they would produce this much this quick. It's been a fun season for Chicago White Sox fans. Minnesota Twins are sitting 2 games back. They've been great. Their one problem on the road, not as strong. 21-5 at home, 9-14 on the road. They have a nice plus differential of plus 46 runs on the year. They've been doing all right. They've got a steady record. They're 7-3 in their last 10 as well. The problem is the White Sox have just been so good. They're considered a 100% chance to make the playoffs as well. So that's good for the Twins fans. And the team that's fallen off just a little bit that was in this hunt as well, the Cleveland Indians, 26-21. They're 5 games back of the White Sox, 3 games back of the Twins. Lost 6 in a row. That's the problem they have going right now, but still considered a major lock to make the postseason as well at 98.7%. So not too bad there. Falling behind them, the Detroit Tigers, they're not out of it yet either. 0.9% chance, 20-26 on the year. They've lost 3 in a row. And oddly enough, the Kansas City Royals are still have a chance, but a slight chance at that, a 0.2% chance. But give them some credit. They're sitting at 20-28. Mainly because they're on a 6-game win streak themselves. So props to the Royals if they've been putting together a little bit of a run to end their season. Looking at the American League West, top team, been the top team for quite a while. The Oakland A's, 30-18 on the season, 18-7 at home, 12-11 on the road. That's their problem as well, just a little more average on the road. But they put up runs, they keep people off the board. Plus 56 run differential. Puts them at second best so far in the American League. Nothing to be ashamed about. 6-4 in their last 10. They're on a 1-game win streak right now. 100% chance to make the playoffs. At least that's the prediction coming from ESPN. Right behind them, the Houston Astros, who just dipped underneath to a losing record. They're 23-24. This means quite a bit. The 16-6 team on the home, 7-18 on the road. Only a plus 5 run differential. They are 2-8 in their last 10. one of the biggest slumping teams, especially for one that's considered a high favorite to make the playoffs as well, with a 94% chance. Now we talk about that 2-8 stretch. Here's where the problem lies. They are only a game and a half above the Mariners. The team that we might have thought was in a full rebuild, was fully out of this thing, did not have a chance to come back. Well, they're showing that they have a little bit of life. 6-4 in their last 10. 4.6% chance. Not big to make the playoffs, but they have been playing some great baseball and being competitive. They just split a doubleheader with the Oakland A's, the team that's been the top of the West in the American League. So don't count them out just yet. There is a chance with that. And with how the Astros have been slumping, anything is really possible there. The LA Angels, they're falling back a little bit as well. They're 2 games back of the Mariners, 3.5 back of the Astros. They're 7-3 in their last 10. That's their positive. They've been winning games as of recent as well, but it might just be a little bit too late as they sit there with a 20-28 record, 2.7% chance of making the playoffs, and then rounding out the American League, the Texas Rangers sitting at 17-30, comparable to the Red Sox. It's looking like their season is coming down to a close. Interesting enough about them, they're 13-13 at home, 4-17 on the road. They just can't buy a victory outside of their new stadium. It must be really nice playing there. That's why they're hosting those postseason games there this year. 4-6 in their last 10. Still considered a 0.1% chance of making the playoffs. There it is again. So you're telling me there's a chance. Moving over to the National League, the East. This is one of the divisions that's looking to be very, very, very competitive as we go down the stretch. Atlanta Braves, they've had this thing from just about the beginning. They've been strong. 28-20 on the season, plus 44 run differential. One of only 2 teams in the NL East that has a positive run differential. 5-5 in their last 10, but considered almost a certainty to make the playoffs at 99.9%. They're holding off some teams behind them. The Miami Marlins are 2.5 games back. They're also behind in the sense that they need to play some games to catch up to the Braves. This is a big bump. They've won 3 in a row, 7 of their last 10. They're up to an 81% chance of making the postseason. Their numbers have been fluctuating, and this is just a fun story. The team that got knocked down early because of COVID concerns, and they got hit hard. Well, they've come back strong and been a great team. They just need a little bit more offensive production, and I think this team gets scarier and scarier in the postseason. Right behind them, the Philadelphia Phillies. They've lost 3 in a row, 4-6 in their last 10. They're 4 games back of the Braves, a game and a half back of the Marlins. So all of them pretty tight, reasonable to think they could catch each other. They're sitting with a 23-23 record, considered a 65% chance of making the playoffs. Not bad. They put up runs, 243 on the season. Need to be better at making sure that they aren't giving up as much runs. We know about that bullpen for the Phillies. It's been a problem for a long stretch. The New York Mets sit at 4th, 21-26, 6.5 games back of the Braves, 2.5 behind the Marlins, 2.5 behind the Phillies, 4 games behind the Marlins. They're not out of this either. They're the only other team in the NL East with that positive run differential, sitting at 4th place. How they're 5 games under 500 and have a positive run differential, that's sometimes just how statistics can be crazy. They're 5-5 in their last 10, considered a 28% chance of making the playoffs. So looking at the outside, looking in at the moment. And then our defending champs, hey, you got to keep giving your nod to them. It was a great World Series win for them last year, but they aren't going to have a great chance to defend their crown as they're sitting way back in the NL East, 9.5 games out of first place, 1.3% chance of making it. Too many injuries, too many problems, changes on this team, kind of kept them out of it. Bummer story, but hey, they got one last year. It's somebody else's turn this year. The National League Central. This one's going to get tight and competitive. The Cubs are sitting atop comfortably right now. 4 games up on the Cardinals, 28-20. 5-5 in their last 10, 99.9% chance of making the postseason. It's looking like they should make it even if they fall out of the first place spot, which right now looks like it would be a stretch. The Cardinals sit below them, having to make up games at 21-21, 4 games behind, 77% chance of making the playoffs. They just had a big sweep, or not sweep, but a split with the Brewers and a doubleheader on Monday night, seeing what they can do Tuesday. The Cincinnati Reds sitting at third right now. They just jumped up to that third spot. They're on a 3-game win streak, 23-26. They're a game and a half back of the Cardinals and a playoff spot, second playoff spot from the NL Central. A team that is losing Sonny Gray, like we talked about earlier, but trying to get some offense, some things rolling here as of late. Like I said, 1-3 in a row, 6-4 in their last 10. They're considered a 37% chance of making the postseason. And then the Brewers right behind them, only a half game behind, 21-25, 6 games back of the Cubs, half game back of the Reds, 2 games back of the Cardinals. It's all about them getting their offense going. 4-6 in their last 10. We know what their pitching can be like, especially at the end of that bullpen. Can you put up the runs? Can you hold a lead? End your games. That's going to be the question for the Brewers. And then the Pittsburgh Pirates holding on to that worst record in baseball. They've lost 6 in a row, 3-7 in their last 10. Their playoff chances are nilch, gone, 0. So Pirates can start planning for the 2021 season probably pretty shortly. Might even be playing some guys just to see what they have in potential going forward. The National League West, I didn't think we'd be saying this. I really didn't. But the Dodgers have a team breathing down their neck. 33-15. Best record in baseball. Not good enough. They are a plus 98 run differential. Best in baseball. But we got a team that's chasing them down on that. They are 5-5 in their last 10, considered 100% certainty to make the playoffs, and have some big games coming up against the Padres. Padres game and a half back at 32-17, plus 83 run differential, second best in the majors. This is going to be a fun race. They have won 8 games in a row. They're 9-1 in their last 10, considered a certainty to make the playoffs as well. This is another one of those teams. This is just like the White Sox. We knew they had young, fun talent. But man, are they good. We didn't think they'd pop this much this early. Sitting behind those two, the Giants, 23-24, considered a 53% chance of making the playoffs. That's another fun story, especially considering not many probably predicted the Giants to give us a postseason run at the beginning of the year. Lost 3 in a row, which is a bummer for them, but 6-4 in their last 10. Trying to hold off the Colorado Rockies, who are a game and a half back, 21-25 on the year. They've lost 2 in a row themselves, 4-6 in their last 10. Talked about their injury problems with Nolan Arenado, hoping to get him back soon and have him healthy, doing things well as they try to make a push. And then wrapping up the National League, the Arizona Diamondbacks, 17-31. They are 16 games back of the first place Dodgers at the moment. Can't get people out. Offense has been underperforming. It's just been a bummer of a season for Diamondback fans. 3-7 in their last 10. They're on a 2-game skid right now. But we'll see if they can come out and maybe even play some spoilers so far this season. Because even when you're out of things, spoilers is always a possibility. You can try to see what you can do. Looking at some of our league leaders when it comes to major statistics, Tim Anderson, he's our top dog when it comes to batting average at 369. Juan Soto, 354. He's caught up, has enough at-bats to make him eligible, sitting in second place. DJ LeMahieu has been up there for a lot of the season at 350. Donovan Solano, hey, the old man wonder, has still been solid at 349, and then Trey Turner at 348, also having another strong season. 2 Nationals bats up there, been playing really well after their World Series season. Man, it's just about that would be some great offense going into the postseason, but hey, got to win those games, got to win them over that 60-game stretch. Home runs, old man Nelson Cruz, our DH wonder, DH MVP possibility, sitting at 16 home runs, tied with Mike Trout and Luke Voit as the American League has a bunch of guys just smashing home runs. Mookie Betts sitting at 15, as well as Jose Abreu. We thought it was going to be close to that 20 mark. That 20 mark was going to be a pretty good season. We got a handful of guys that are going to be chasing it. Maybe someone having a hot stretch towards the end of the year. You never know. RBIs, Jose Abreu is leading the way with 48, followed by Freddie Freeman with 44 for the Braves, and Marcell Ozuna for the Braves as well with 43. And then we got a pair of Padres with Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis at 40 apiece as well. For hits, Trey Turner is our guy leading the way, 64, and then Jose Abreu at 62. That might be our MVP of the American League. I'm just saying he might be the guy to definitely be getting a lot of votes. He's been doing some great stuff, and the reason why the White Sox are really popping. Michael Conforto for the Mets has 60 hits, Freddie Freeman 59, Manny Machado 58. Moving over to some pitchers, Shane Bieber, guy's been solid. 7 wins so far in the season. Also with 7 wins, Yu Darvish and, hey, Zach Davies for the San Diego Padres. He's been having a great season for them. Definitely a big pickup in the offseason from the Brewers. Lance Lynn, Marco Gonzalez for the Seattle Mariners being 2 guys with 6 wins as well. ERA, our leader is Shane Bieber as well at a 1.53, but we got some guys that are close to him. Jacob deGrom, 1.67, putting together another great season. Probably hoping for another Cy Young. He's just good, man. He's really good. Trevor Bauer, 1.71 ERA. He's been fantastic going into what's going to be a free agency where a lot of people are going to be wanting his services. Yu Darvish having one of his best seasons with a 1.77 ERA. And Corbin Burns, who's been slowly putting together a nice hot stretch for the Brewers with a 1.98 ERA. Saves leaders, Liam Hendricks, 12 for the Oakland A's. Brad Hand, 12 as well for the Indians. Alex Colomé has been great shutting the door for the White Sox with 11. And then Kenley Jansen and Mark Melincon for the Braves with 10 apiece. Strikeouts, man. Trevor Bauer is sitting at 83 in second place, and he actually had a funny tweet the other day because he was saying how he overtook the National League lead. Said he's coming for Shane Bieber at the top spot. Well, he's 19 behind. Shane Bieber has just a strong lead when it comes to strikeouts at 102 on the season. Like we said, Bauer 83 in second. Lucas Giolito 82 for the White Sox in third. Then Max Scherzer 79 and Lance Lynn with 79 as well. A lot of great pitching performances so far this year. So that's going to be our look at standings and look at our top statistical guys around the league. When we come back, we got to look at what's going to be some postseason matchups if the season were to end today. We got to talk about this stuff. It's been fun to talk about. We got a better look at some of these teams. Some of these matchups would be pretty fun when we come back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
It is getting to that point where the picture is not crystal clear, but hey, we're getting closer. We're continuing to get closer as we look at the postseason matchups that we are going to be seeing so far this year. If the season were to end today, we got to talk about some of the things we would be seeing. So we're going to take a look at the American League and the National League where we're settled. We're going to talk about the American League first because this is the one that seems a little more set at the moment. Things could change. Things could definitely change. Don't get me wrong. But as of right now, things are pretty well set in what we think are going to be the 8 teams, unless if some big stretches come for teams and some fall aparts come for others. So right now, looking at the American League, our top seed would actually be the Chicago White Sox. Yeah, they have been the best team in the American League record-wise so far. And if the season were to end today, they would be facing off versus the Cleveland Indians, getting the number 8 seed. Yeah, that fall for the Cleveland Indians has not been good as they've lost 6 in a row. Would have to end up going to Chicago and face one of the better teams in baseball. What used to be a very competitive American League Central is definitely seeing some interesting changes in the sense of how hot the White Sox have been. Really stunned baseball with their big step forward, best record, second best record in baseball overall. Still have to play a division rival, though, and that's where things can get scary because anything can happen. I am very much looking forward to these division rival games, and I think some people might be a little scared that, well, we're going to just be playing each other again. We've had all these games against each other. Do we really need 3 more to settle these things? Maybe not. Maybe it'll definitely go one way. But the thing about this matchup that is exciting is you have some great bats for the White Sox going against what's going to be some star pitching for the Indians. You're telling me you're not tuning into game 1 of Shane Bieber versus the White Sox bats? I mean, that's something right there. That matchup right there is going to get me to tune in a regular season game, let alone a postseason game when it's a best-of-3 series. That's how you start things off, and then don't forget the Indians have great pitchers after that. It's all going to come down to what their offense gives them. I love that series. I would like to see that in the first round. I think that would be great. All for it. And let's keep the divisional matchups going. The next one we'd see the number 2 seed versus the number 7 seed, Tampa Bay Rays versus the Yankees. The Rays overtook the Yankees, held on to that top spot for so long. The Yankees, who are considered to be the major favorite in the American League East, well, they have been so up and down and rocked with issues when it comes to health. Well, if they come into this healthy, it's going to be fun, especially these two teams that have just been butting heads with each other so far this season. I mean, issues with throwing at each other, problems going on. I'm all for this. Tension, 3-game series, you can't hold anything back. This is a fight I would love to see. So if the season ended this way, already, 2 matchups that I absolutely love. This is great. Let's keep it going, though. The number 3 versus the number 6. The Oakland A's versus the Houston Astros. Another division matchup. The team that, had some controversy coming into this season, for sure. And the Astros versus the Oakland A's, who have just been steady. 3 matchups to settle your divisions. And I like this also in the sense that, hey, this feels like whoever's going to come out of here winning, even though whatever your record was in the American League, with these 3 series, here's your division winners. It's just like a normal season. 3 teams getting out of your division and then a wild card matchup. I like the way this falls. I really wish that it could stay this way. It would be a great deal of fun. The bummer in all of this is Matt Chapman being lost for the year for the A's. That's definitely something that's bothersome. But injuries are a part of the game. That's, kind of why the Astros are also sitting here at the 6th spot, why the Yankees are at the 7th spot. You just got to take it. You got to take your, your bumps there, bumps and bruises, how it's going to be. And then our 4-5 matchup, the Twins versus the Blue Jays. The bats of the Minnesota Twins that are just an electrifying offense versus the young upstart Blue Jays that have been putting things together. Talk about a series that's going to give me some offense. All 4 of this is 2. If this would have been a wild card game, this would have been exciting as well. See the young guys of Toronto versus a team in Minnesota that's probably just happier than heck that they're not playing the Yankees for once. I'm all for this matchup as well. I think in a dream scenario, it doesn't get much better than this. You might have some matchups that you love a great deal that you would love to see. I mean, an Indians team against a lot of different offenses trying to slow them down. I understand that. Putting great offenses against each other, whether it be a healthy Yankees team versus a healthy White Sox team, you might have dream matchups all over the place. But the way that things would fall right now, I mean, this is just a chef's kiss, just perfect to me. I would be all about these games and would be tuned in, locked into these American League series. This is what it feels like the 8 teams are going to be. It really does. Unless if the Mariners can sneak in over the Astros. And you know what? If that's the case, I'd be all fine with seeing an A's Mariners series. I mean, the team that snuck in versus the team that's been steady, why not? It would be fun. But with these 8 right now, I'm locked in. I'm glued. I'm going to be watching this. That's for sure. Moving over to the National League. Our top dog, as of right now, as they're holding on, Dodgers would be the number 1 seed versus the Giants, the number 8 seed. Here we are, another division series. And did we also mention that outside of Yankees, Red Sox, and Cubs, Cardinals, maybe? This might be the best rivalry in baseball. You know what? I might put this one above Cubs, Cardinals. Yankees, Red Sox, Dodgers, Giants might be the 2 best rivalries in sports. So why not put it to a 3-game series? You know there would be nothing that the Giants would love more than 3 games to try to knock off the Dodgers team that's had the best record all season. Talk about some bragging rights right there. That would be something to get people riled up, people watching. All for it. And the Dodgers, they would have their chance to show, we are the team to beat. We have been the better team for the last decade. We have been the team. And even with all this, the Giants are the ones with the World Series as of late. But the Dodgers have been so good. Just the storylines in this series, oh man, I would be all for it. Hey, and Mookie Betts, can he help get the Dodgers over the hump? Is he the piece to help get things going? Fun idea to watch. Fun idea to watch. The next one that we would be watching in the National League, well, this is the first one that isn't as crazy fun with all the division matchups, but a good game, good series nonetheless. Cubs, Phillies. Cubs have been just a steady winner all year. And David Ross's first season, the vibes seem to be pretty good coming out of that team as they've just been holding on to the NL Central. Nothing crazy there. A Phillies team that has just rebuilt and they have put together this whole new squad over the last couple seasons. Hey, they're trying to do whatever they can to get back to the postseason. And if they get in, they are going to be fighting for their lives to advance. They don't want to miss any advantages. So Cubs, Phillies, hey, this may not be one that you are absolutely screaming for, excited about. It could still be a pretty fun series considering the offenses both produce, the big names across these 2 teams. I mean, we got a lot going on when you look at the Phillies with Bryce Harper, JT Realmuto, everything they have going on. This would be a Jake Arrieta getting to go back and play against his former team with the Cubs. Cubs having all their guys like Javi Baez, Rizzo, also Ian Happ, who's been absolutely amazing for them. Yu Darvish, who's had a great season. It's not an exciting series on paper, I understand. But you know what? It'd be a pretty good series all together. Our 3-6 matchup, Braves, Cardinals. Last year, Cardinals beat the Braves. Why not try to get a little revenge, Braves fans? Now, interesting in the sense of how these 2 teams got here. The Braves have been battling some adversity all season. If you want to look at a team that has struggled more from trying to keep starting pitchers healthy and on the roster, look no further than the Atlanta Braves. The Cardinals had their season delayed big time, having to overcome a lot of obstacles to potentially make a postseason. They're playing a lot of games and not as many days. This is a series that would be fun as well. And you want to see the Braves take the next step. This is a team that's been putting things together. They have some young talent all across the board. They're really trying to take the next step and show that they are a dominant team in the National League. And the Cardinals are just a team that continues to be very steady every year in, year out. So it would be a big, big series in the sense of if the Cardinals would win one like this. How would the Braves teams react? Are they going to try to blow some things up? Are they going to try to facelift their team with what they have? Who knows? This could be a very interesting season in turning how a franchise looks at themselves. Maybe they think the injuries are what's put them all the way down. Who knows? But Braves, Cardinals could definitely be a lot of fun. And then our last one, Padres, Marlins. MLB.com, they quoted this as the happy to be here series. Two teams in the National League with the longest postseason droughts. Yes, definitely two teams that are looking to get back to being a part of all of that October magic. But at 4 and 5 seed, this is two teams that have definitely earned their way here. The Padres have been outstanding. They could still catch the Dodgers and take the best seed in the National League. That's not out of the question. They have been that good, playing with some amazing young talent. And this Marlins team, the surprise team of the season, has been steady and are inching towards locking themselves in as they have been strong as of late, lifting their playoff chances, getting some boost to their offense with the addition of Starling Marte, and riding that young pitching they have. If you haven't seen Sixto Sanchez pitch yet, he is a treat. Would be somebody fun to watch in a game one of a series, especially against the Padres offense that's been as good as it has. I like this series. I like this. And you know what? Here's the scary thing. You don't want to play the Marlins because when the Marlins make the playoffs, they usually win a World Series. They've been riding that. 2 playoff appearances, 2 World Series won. That's some good odds for them. And we got some teams that are sitting on the outside looking in. We talked about the Mariners. They feel like the one last true team in the American League that has a chance to make the playoffs. I mean, the Baltimore Orioles, they're sitting behind by a couple games, but they got a tough stretch in their schedule coming. The Detroit Tigers might have too much ground to make up. And then after that, the Angels, Royals, it doesn't seem like it's possible. The National League is where things are going to get crazy. The Reds are a game back of the Giants. The Brewers are a game and a half back of the Giants. The Rockies also a game and a half back. The Mets 2 games back. Then things fall off for the Nationals, Diamondbacks, Pirates. We could have a lot of movement in the National League still. And it's going to be quite a fight coming down to the end. These 8 teams would be a fun playoffs. I'd be okay with all of them, but man, that last week of baseball in the National League is going to get crazy. Definitely going to be worth the watch. I know I'm going to be paying attention to it, especially living up here in the Wisconsin area. Brewers fans are just getting nervous. They're hoping and waiting for that September run they have been getting. It all starts with that offense. So that's what we'd be looking at for playoff matchups if the season were to end today. Would be some fun ones. Man, the American League. Can we just lock in the American League and put them at that? Division matchups, those teams. Oh, that would be some fun baseball for sure. Coming up on the podcast, we need to talk about some very important series that are coming up. Talk about some of these teams that are looking like they're going to make the playoffs, some teams that are on the outside looking in. What are the series that are going to help shape things up coming up on the GSMC Baseball Podcast?
Want to know the latest in soccer? Then listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast. From MLS, the World Cup, and the Premier League, we've got you covered. The latest updates, the hottest matches, and news on the league's top players. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Soccer Podcast.
David Beckham scores the goal to take England all the way to the World Cup finals.
Listen now.
I'm going to continue to say it. I can't stop thinking about the postseason when it comes to MLB. It's going to be so different. It really is. And I'm okay with different in the sense of this year is so nuts and so crazy anyways. There's no problem with that. we are going to be seeing 3-game series where there's going to be an upset. I mean, there's going to be. In 8 series, it's hard to imagine that every single favorite's going to move on. Just what it's looking like, probably the odds. Somebody's going to take a game 1. Another team's back is against the wall. There's going to be upsets. But even before we can get to that postseason, even before we can talk about those matchups fully, which as much as I want to, we got to talk about the series that we have left that matter so much. So I want to take the time and look at teams that still have a playoff chance. They're not out of it. They're not completely gone. Yes, that includes like the Tigers, like the Orioles. And we got to look at what they have coming, what matters. Okay? There's a lot of matchups that maybe these series don't mean a whole lot, but in the next coming days, this next full week, we do have some series that are going to mean quite a bit when it comes to teams trying to make up some ground or even put some ground between them and another team behind. So we're going to take a chance to look at this. We usually start things off with the American League. We're going to flip it up right now because the National League is the one that's more in question. There's definitely a lot of concerns there. So when we start the National League, we're looking at the National League East. The team that's been atop that, the Braves, they are sitting here. Their magic number at right now's date, Tuesday, September 15th, is 7 for a postseason berth. Okay, that's just to make the playoffs. Some tiebreakers that they own, the Braves and Marlins are tied in their season series. That's important, 3-3. 4 head-to-head matchups remaining in the regular season. So there's a lot to be happening there. They hold 2.5 games over the Marlins for the NL's number 3 playoff seed, and they have the same record as the Cubs, who own a better intra-divisional record. That's what's going to be settling those. Coming forward, 2 games against the Baltimore Orioles. Must win. You can't lose those games if you're the Braves. Sorry. But then 3 big games against the Mets. This is where the playoff predictions hold the Mets at still having a chance to get in. These 3 games are straight to help them push their chances to try and make it, while the Braves need these games to kind of solidify not only themselves, but helping their intra-division, trying to make things go as well as they can. 3 games with the New York Mets are huge for the Atlanta Braves going forward. The Marlins, the team that's sitting right behind them, their magic number is 11 for a postseason berth. Okay, we talked about it, the Braves and Marlins, they're tied so far 3-3 on the season. But the Marlins hold the tiebreaker over the Phillies. They won that season series 7-3. That's big. They have such a nice schedule moving forward. 3 games against Boston, 5 versus Washington. Need to take those games. It is setting themselves up to make the postseason. The Marlins could not have asked for a better draw. Things are looking for the up and up for them. I would feel more confident betting on the Marlins to actually get a playoff spot for sure, just looking at the games they have coming forward. Feel confident about this Miami Marlins team. Standing behind them, the Phillies. They have a tough stretch coming. We talked about it. Braves and Phillies, they've split their season series so far. Philly has the tiebreaker because of a better intra-division record. Marlins, like we said, own it over the Phillies. They are 12. Their magic number is 12 for a postseason berth. They have games against the Mets. 3 games to help build some ground between them and New York. But here's the thing that's scary. 4 games against the Toronto team that's fighting for their life as well. Not what you want to see as you're trying to fight to make the playoffs. That's a very, very tough stretch that we see for the Phillies moving forward. And then the Mets, like we talked about, if they want to make the playoffs, they have a route in front of them. They're on the outside looking in. 2 games behind the Giants for the 8th and final playoff spot. San Francisco has tiebreakers over New York with a better intra-division record, but here is where the Mets can make their move. 6 games in their division. 3 at Philadelphia, 3 versus Atlanta. If they want to push to make the season, those 6 games are going to help decide a lot for them. That's the move for the New York Mets. A bad upcoming schedule against those 2, and they're out. most likely gone from any playoff hunt. Then the Nationals at the end. Hey, I know they have a slight chance, but it ain't looking good for them. 2 against Tampa Bay and a Miami team that's fighting for it. The National League Central, the Cubs. They don't have many games coming up against straight teams in their division. 2 versus the Cleveland Indians, then 3 versus the Twins. They're holding a lot of ground over the Cardinals, but it's a split season series right now. Chicago holds the tiebreaker, better record against the NL Central. So that's where it is, against the Cardinals. Cardinals sitting behind are in a very big week for them. 3 games against the Brewers, and we can throw the Brewers in here with this one as well, because this is what matters for them. These 3 games between the Brewers and the Cardinals is going to help decide who is in a better position when it comes to the second spot in the NL Central. After this series, both teams go to play more of a cupcake matchup. We have the Cardinals against the Pirates, the Brewers versus the Royals, although we probably shouldn't knock the Royals too much because they are on that win streak. But when you look at what they are overall, you would think that you'd bet on the Brewers if they got a hot stretch going. The Reds are the team that's sitting between the two. 2 versus Pittsburgh. Got to win those. Problem the Reds have in front of them, 3 games versus the Chicago White Sox. If they can weather the storm between those two and the Brewers and Cardinals just beat on each other, the Reds can come out winners a little bit where they stand in the NL Central. So something interesting to be brought up there. The Dodgers and the Padres, this National League West. Let's talk about this a little bit. The Dodgers hold the Padres by 1.5 games in the division. Lead the Cubs by 5 games for the NL's best record. They need 2 wins to clinch a postseason berth. Padres, they need 3 wins. The Dodgers and Padres are currently tied in their season series 4-4, with their next 2 games being each other. These 2 games are so massive, so incredibly massive when it comes to all playoff implications. It's some of must-watch baseball. Must watch. It could be the difference of being the number 1 seed and the number 4 seed. It's going to be exciting. The Padres have their eyes set on the Dodgers who haven't really had someone on their tail for most of the season. That pressure's got to be starting to mount a little bit, knowing they're right behind them. And then after that, Dodgers go to 4 games at Colorado. The Padres 3 games against Seattle. That's 2 teams fighting for their lives. So you got 2 big games to settle who wins your season series, and then go and fight another team that has nothing left but to fight and claw to try to make their playoffs. It's not going to be easy for those teams in the NL West. The Giants, well, they have 2 games against Seattle, 3 games at Oakland. That's a tough stretch as well for 2 teams jockeying for position. Rockies, 2 games versus Oakland, 4 games versus the Dodgers. The NL West is going to be a fight, a brawl. It's going to get interesting going down the stretch. Hey, this is going to be fun baseball. We talked about this. This final week is going to be great. The National League has potential for so much movement, so much craziness going on. We don't know what 8 teams are making it. We're going to learn a lot in the next week. We really, really are. 162 games, we may not have things settled, but at the end of this next week, when we're getting the teams over that 50 mark on the season, we're going to have a better idea where a lot of people sit. Looking at the American League, starting with the American League East, the Rays sitting atop. Their schedule, friendly. Very, very friendly. Try to just hold everything off. They got 2 games versus the Nationals, then 5 versus Baltimore. Okay, one of the nicer schedules for these teams that are trying to make the playoffs, that's for certain. They need to just do whatever they can to hold on. 5 games for a postseason berth. 5 wins is what they need. Tampa Bay holds a tiebreaker over Toronto for the division title. They won that season series 6-4. That ends up meaning quite a bit. Looking at the Blue Jays, they trail the Rays by 3.5 games. They're a half game ahead of the Yankees. So we just said Tampa Bay, they hold the edge over Toronto. The Blue Jays currently hold a tiebreaker edge over the Yankees. They lead that series 2-1. We're early into that. There's 7 games left. 3 games coming up against the Yankees. So the same thing for the Yankees here. This is their big series coming. A half game between them. This is the chance for somebody to make up some ground or someone to build some ground between the Blue Jays and the Yankees. We've been hearing a lot about Yankees trying to get their full roster together, get healthy. We'll see if that helps push them over the edge to catch Toronto. We'll see if the Toronto core is just too strong and they're playing too well. After this series between the Blue Jays and the Yankees, the Blue Jays go off to face the Phillies, a team that's trying to make the playoffs desperately. The Yankees get 3 at Boston. But I will say, don't count that series out. Even with Boston so far out of it, I would bet quite a bit that they would love to be playing some spoilers and ruin things for a Yankees team by having a tougher seat. Baltimore Orioles, they're sitting way back. 2 games versus Atlanta, 5 games against Tampa Bay. That's just a tough stretch. They need to do a lot of climbing to get there. Schedule is not too favorable to help them get there. Sad to see for the Orioles. I think their season's going to be considered done coming shortly in the upcoming games. The American League Central, the White Sox lead the division by 2 games over the Twins, 5 games over the Indians, and they lead the Rays by 1 game for a top seed in the American League. I'm betting they want that pretty bad, and they have a big series to try to help themselves out, not only to win their division, but also pick up some ground in the American League. 3 games with the Twins. This is a make-or-break series. If you get it up to 5 games at a sweep, that's going to be hard for the Twins to make up. The Twins are hoping to just pick up a game here, I imagine, if they can. Afterwards, the White Sox go on to see the Cincinnati, a team fighting and clawing. The Twins go off to see the Cubs, another team that's trying to get and help their record the best they possibly can. So it could get very interesting if the Twins take this series from the White Sox and then it moves on. Definitely nothing guaranteed. You starting to catch on here how exciting these series are going to be getting towards the end? Then you have the Indians team that, even though they've fallen a little bit out of the American League Central contention, they have potential here. They have a chance. 2 games at Chicago Cubs. That's what they're looking at first. After those 2 games, 4 games at Detroit. If Chicago White Sox and Twins beat on each other a little bit, the Indians hope that they can try to make up a little bit of ground against Detroit. While the Tigers, while they are not out of it as well, 5.5 games behind the Yankees and Indians for the 8th playoff spot. That's a lot of ground to make up. 2 games versus Kansas City, but like we said, Kansas City's been hot as of recent. And then 4 versus an Indians team that's trying to keep them back, fight them off. So it looks like the Tigers season is going to be close to coming to an end as well. And then lastly, in the American League West, the Athletics. Well, they just split a doubleheader with the Mariners. They got 2 games coming up against Colorado. They're 6.5 games ahead of the Astros. They're just trying to keep a lead. They're 4 games from a postseason berth. Oakland has clinched a tiebreaker over Houston. They won that season series 7-3. So things are looking really good for Oakland with 2 games against Colorado coming. They're just trying to hold things down. The Astros, their schedule is so friendly to end the year. 3 games versus Texas, 3 games versus Arizona. 2 last place teams. The Mariners, on the other hand, 2 versus San Francisco team that's fighting for their life. 1.5 games back of the Astros, so they're not out of it. It's still a chance. But Seattle's 15-16 intra-division record puts it behind the Yankees at 17-13 and the Indians at 16-16. Should they tie for a playoff spot? That's what it's looking like right now. They need some help. The Astros need to struggle versus the Rangers and the Diamondbacks to get the Mariners over that hump. That's just what we're going to be seeing. I'm rooting for this Mariners team. I really am. I want to see them get in there. The Astros, who would have thought there was a possibility after last year's World Series that the Astros and the Nationals potentially could miss the playoffs? I just would have never imagined. Very interesting to talk about. And then the Angels, they're sitting on the outside. Hey, they got 3 games versus the Diamondbacks and 4 versus Texas. Now, that's something that's interesting to bring up. Cupcake schedule as well. But they need a lot of help. They're 6.5 games behind the Yankees and Indians for that last playoff spot. They don't hold really any tiebreakers at all. So they need a lot of miracles to happen for the Angels to make it. And sadly, it's just not looking like they're going to get that or get much help unless the Diamondbacks and the Texas Rangers start showing some life and trying to play a little bit of spoilers. So that's what we're looking at when it comes to these teams. It's going to be fun. Man, it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this stretch. And I had my concerns about 16 teams making the playoffs, but with each passing day, the closer we get, the more heated the seeding is going to get, wanting to get some home field. I'm liking it more and more. I really am. And we'll see if this continues to stick for the following seasons at 162 games. It might not. Maybe, again, the regular season might be shrunk down a little bit. But I definitely think it was a nice twist added. A lot of these things that the MLB has experimented with this year, I feel like have hit. Some baseball traditionalists, they may not love it, but I thought it has brought some excitement to the game. And I would be willing to bet we brought in some fans, some people to watch the game that normally haven't been. And that's something that's worth mentioning. What you're trying to do with these rule changes is to get new fans. And there's potential it hit pretty well. So it might be considered a win for MLB. So that's going to be it here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast on the GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Collin Manley. Thank you again for listening. Episodes release Wednesday and Sunday. It means a great deal for your download, your listen. What would help me out as well? Leave a nice positive review, comment, maybe something you want us to talk about, maybe something that I missed that you want me to mention. Your thoughts on everything coming through. Hey, I'd love to hear from you guys. Anything you can do help. It's going to be great. Get excited. This season, this ending, it's going to be fun. I want to thank you again for listening to the GSMC Baseball Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Baseball Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.